Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bolt Report for another episode of Thunderstruck. My name is Michael Wax, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host Jake Ricker. Today, we are joined by another very special guest, an undrafted free agent signing by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2011. Our guest did nothing but win during his playing career. A Chenoweth Cup champion, a Calder Cup champion, and a two-time Stanley Cup champion for your Tampa Bay Lightning. Our guest spent 589 games over 9 seasons with the Bolts, ranking top 10 all-time in goals with 161. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tyler Johnson. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's start at the beginning. You know, coming into the Lightning organization, what do you feel got you noticed, whether it was things that you saw in your own game or stuff that scouts and people with the Lightning were saying about you? What do you think got you noticed back in 2011 as an undrafted free agent?
Well, yeah, that was my 20-year-old year in juniors in the WHL there, and I had a good year, which was, awesome. But, I think being a smaller guy, I think that kind of turned a lot of people away from me throughout the years. And then they saw that I was having the success. I like to think that I played with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, probably be a little agitated once in a while, and I think that's really helped. And Steve was the first one from the lighting organization that talked to me, and just everything he said just made sense. He wanted someone that could compete. He wanted someone that could skate. And that was just really big attributes for myself. And I thought myself as a pretty good player. And, I thought I was going to be able to help him. So, speaking with Steve helped a lot.
Tyler, John Cooper is one of the most well-respected coaches in the NHL, constantly up for Jack Adams Awards. Hasn't won one yet, but that's for a topic for another day. For someone who got to play with him for so long and be coached by him, what is it that you think makes him such a well-respected coach?
Well, I think one, coaching in the NHL is a hard thing to do, but coaching in the NHL for as many years with the same team and still having success year over year is an extremely hard thing to do. And that's being you have to deal with players. It's not we're not always the easiest ones to deal with. There's a lot of us that, you can really rub the wrong way. But Coop does such a good job of being a personable guy, learning. He's always adapting. He's always, trying to get the input from the players. And we really did, throughout my years there in Tampa, we kind of built the system to the way that the players wanted to play. Coop obviously had how he wanted us to do everything, but we had our own input and we changed a lot of it. There was things that he wanted us to do that we as players thought differently. And, Coop was able to, adapt and compromise. And I think that just goes a long ways and it helped us win. It made us grow a little bit more because we were all on the same page continuously, just a well-oiled machine. And, that's just what Coop's good at.
So, you had him back in the AHL as well, and you actually made your debut before he did in the NHL. But when he came into the NHL, when he was named as the replacement, with that winning that you guys did in Norfolk and Syracuse, was there that immediate like, oh yeah, the Lightning are about to turn a page because of the guy that's coming in after Yee?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely helped. I think for us, what we really realized was when we were in Norfolk there, we obviously had a really good team. We had a lot of good young guys and a lot of good old guys that really kind of just helped and, just kind of paved the way for us and taught us how to be professionals and how to play. And then once we got to Syracuse, it was that lockout year. We had a really good team again. Coop was down there. But halfway through that year, as soon as the lockout was over, I think there was what 8 or 9 of us that all got called up at the same time pretty much, and then Coop was up about 2 weeks later. And I think that's when we kind of realized that, you know what, we're building something here. And we kind of knew what Steve was telling us before, even the year before. He wanted all of us to come up at the same time. He wanted all of us to take over, create a new just a new team, a new everything, and the culture and everything for that. And Coop's a guy that he's really big on culture. He helps develop that. He helps maintain it. And once he got up there, I think it allowed us as young guys to feel a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, we had, our friends, our teammates that we were already with, but now we had a coach that we already knew that he believed in us. We knew that, he knew what kind of players we were and what kind of people we were. So he was giving us a little bit more free reign compared to, some other coaches with a bunch of, 9 rookies on the team. You might not get as much. So it worked out really well for us, obviously.
Well, speaking of having those teammates, that familiarity, and Cooper, who is famous for his line blender when he loves to break it out, you were a part of the famous Trippets line, as it was nicknamed, that really dominated in the 2014-2015 season. What was it about that line that worked so well for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is Pally and I were already very familiar with each other. We played with each other in the AHL, so him and I just knew what was going on at all times. Coop's system's really good about, you could put a blindfold on and kind of know where everyone's at. And then you had a guy like Cooch, he was a young player, hungry, so much skill, still wanting to learn, and then he just kind of thought the exact same way as Pally and I. We just had that natural chemistry right away, and we just kind of knew where everyone was, and it was a lot of fun. It was just just the ebbs and flow of the game just kind of just worked in our favor, and we had a really really good time. And then all three of us were obviously really good friends, so that made it even better off the ice, and it was a fun time.
So, what moment from that run stands out to you, and why is it the Christmas photo shoot?
Yeah, Cooch, he was pretty happy doing that one. He loved it. He loves taking photos, so he was all about it. But no, he was a guy we really had to talk into that. I didn't think he was going to take the photo. I can't remember exactly how it even came up. I mean, it was through the hockey news, so they must have had that idea. But that was a pretty funny time. It's a cool picture to have. I actually have it in my house back home, and have Cooch and Pally sign it. So it's a pretty cool little memory.
That's
That's
awesome.
that's amazing. Was there any? You guys had a lot of great moments on that triplet line, and even into the postseason, you guys really had some big plays. Was there a moment specifically that stands out to you from that year with that line?
Well, I think it was our run in the playoffs. The year before we got swept against Montreal. We started against Detroit there in that year, and quite frankly, it didn't look very good for us. They were kind of taking it to us the first couple games. And who knows if we would have lost that series against Detroit, I think, the Tampa Bay Lightning might have been a lot different looking. Probably a lot different trades, different things going on. Maybe some of us might have got moved right away. But the fact that we were able to kind of, get through Detroit, get through all the way to the finals, which I don't believe anyone had us there, was pretty remarkable. And, being on that line with Cooch and Pally, I thought we played a really big role and part in that. And I think that was kind of that year was the foundation of what the Lightning has been able to be built on these last years. And we just kept on going better and better, getting, better players, different, role guys throughout the years. And then finally, we're able to, win the cup. We were so close so many years before all the different conference finals, things like that, that we didn't quite get there. And then finally we were able to. So, I think it just gave us that experience. It gave us that mentality that, hey, we can do this. And it was just a matter of, working hard enough to be able to do it.
You'd mentioned things change throughout the years and it culminates all the way to going into 2020. You guys finally get it done, but you're in Edmonton and there's nobody around. How different were those playoffs for not just the team, but for you in particular?
I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this. I think those were just awful. The mental, it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done. I know it was the hardest thing that other guys on our team have ever done. Being in a bubble like that, just the mental grind of, not being able to do anything. And I know the entire world was obviously flipped upside down and everyone was dealing with different things. So, by no means am I saying, hey, feel sorry for us, but it was a really, really hard time. And for us to be able to win, I think that showed a lot of maturity in our team. Our team was very, very close, and I think that helped a lot because, we spent every minute together. So if you didn't like anyone on a team, I mean, that would have been a miserable time. So at least we had great guys, great coaches, staff, everything. So we did have fun. We made it the best we could, but gosh, that was a that was a hard one. I'm glad we won the next year so we could have a real feeling of it. And let's just say that.
Yeah.
Those years you'll never forget them because of how different they were. And I'm kind of not glad, but glad to hear you say that because a lot of people sometimes try to take away that Stanley Cup run, but it was one of the more difficult things to do. One of the most noticeable things for a fan side was, of course, that there were no fans. There was no noise in those arenas. For you guys on the ice, how much did that affect for you when you were playing?
So I don't know if noise really plays that big of a role. Maybe at the beginning, just to get you amped up a little bit or whatnot. But you're also in the playoffs, so we still knew we had a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So we were able to get that emotion for ourselves. I think it's definitely weird and different. I mean, you hear everything that's going on the ice. You hear every conversation, everyone that's fighting or whatever. You hear every little ounce of it. So it's a little different in that regard, but. I think the game was still the game. You're still playing the way you are. And a lot of times when buildings are rocking and they're, insanely loud, you actually try to tune it out so that you can relax a little bit and try to, kind of get back into your senses. So, it was a little bit of both. You had to make your own atmosphere, but at the same time, it was kind of nice because you could just kind of focus on the game and focus on how you're playing.
Since you could hear everything that was going on the ice, did you ever hear anything kind of funny or interesting?
Oh, always. I mean, there's always guys chirping on the ice, and especially when you have a guy like Pat Maroon on your team. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff.
So you win the cup in 2020. I know you had said, thank God we won in 2021. We got to experience the real thing. But a lot of people say when you win the cup, it just makes the hunger for another one even better because you've already reached the mountaintop. You want to reach it again. Going into the locker room in 2021, what was that feeling like and having a lot of those same guys that you did from the previous year in a condensed schedule? What did you really feel that that team can do, even if you didn't have someone like Kucherov in the regular season?
I think we had a lot of. I mean, we just kind of knew that we could win. We had a lot of confidence. We just won the year before. That turnaround was a little bit shorter, so we didn't really have the summer training, the time to really party and do everything that maybe a normal cup would have done. So maybe that helped us out a little bit that, we just got back right into it. And, that team that we had, I think every given night we knew we could win that game. And we went into most nights knowing that we already won the game before we even played it. So I think that was just an awesome, awesome feeling to be with guys like that we're all on the same page. We all wanted the same thing. And we're all playing for each other, and that's why we won back to back.
When teams go on these long runs, you'll always hear the commentators talk about how they've been playing a lot of hockey, and that can sometimes be a factor if they can go deep into playoff runs. You experienced it, especially with that short off season going into the 2021 season where you guys won back to back. How much of that condensed schedule had effect on you guys physically?
Yeah, it's definitely hard when you go far in the playoffs and trying to get ready for that next year. I mean, we had all those years leading up to the cups that there's a lot of times you go into training camp and you might not even be 100% from the year before. And thankfully, actually, losing to Columbus that one year, that actually got us a summer to where we could actually train and kind of recalibrate a little bit to get into 2020. And then once we did that, we were raring to go. But I think the big thing too is Coop does a really good job of kind of, I don't want to say resting guys, but knowing when guys can be pushed, knowing when guys need a little bit of time off. He's a big guy on days off. He understands that it's a grind. It's a very, very hard thing to do in a season, especially in the playoffs. I mean, every game's like 5 regular season games, it feels like. So he does a really good job of knowing where the guys are at, what they need. And our team 2021 was, so mature. We had all the same guys. We knew our systems already, so it's not like we really had to practice those. It was just trying to get our bodies to feel right every single game, and he did a really good job of that with our staff, and I think that helped a lot. I think there's a lot of teams that they probably, overtrain, over practice, and it's tough on the body. So he's very good with it.
So let's get to the fun stuff when it comes to winning. Those boat parades. What do you remember about, there were different protocols in place, there were different amounts of people at each one, but what do you remember about those two?
I don't know. Was there different protocols? It seemed crazy at both of them, but I
Yeah,
think,
protocols.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We live
I
in
think,
Florida, like
yeah. I mean, Florida was open the whole time. I think our first one was unbelievable. I mean, both were unbelievable, but the first one was insane because we were stuck in a hotel the entire time. We were stuck, not seeing friends, family, anybody. And then all of a sudden we get on these boats and it's just thousands of people lined up on the shores, yelling at us, throwing stuff at us, like unbelievable. I mean, beer cans flying everywhere. You didn't even think about COVID. And that was just a really welcoming thing just because, we were thinking about COVID for so long those months before. And I think even the fans, that was like their time of like, all right, we're done with COVID. We're partying with the guys, we're partying with our team, our city. And I thought that made it just that much cooler to be able to do. The second one, obviously super fun. We had a lot of people. We had some crazy weather, so that made it a little bit different. But
mm.
those boat parades were just top notch. I mean, I don't know, like, hopefully Tampa wins another one here pretty soon. They have to keep the boat parades. I don't think there's any other way you can do that in the city of Tampa.
Do you think that you would have been able to throw the Stanley Cup like Tom Brady was able to throw the Lombardi?
Uh, I don't even want to try because I know if I mess that up, I'd be getting Phil would not be happy with me. He would be very, very upset. So I don't think I would do that one. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Well, speaking of the Stanley Cup, of course, you get two days since you won it twice. What did you do when you had the Stanley Cup with you?
So that was another reason that was really good that we won it the next year because after 2020, we actually didn't have any time for the Stanley Cup because of COVID. So that was a big thing. Alex Florin and I were our NHLPA members, and throughout the year, we were trying to just say, hey, what happens if we don't win again this year? Are we able to get the cup? And that was going to be a big problem. They didn't think
Mhm.
we'd be able to get it. So that would have been, I mean, that would have been awful. So we actually only got our one day, but no, it was awesome. I was able to bring it up to Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area. Brought it on the lake that I grew up on. Brought it to a lot of the different fire departments, police. Took it into Spokane Chiefs, the WHL team that I played with, and had a bunch of people come out and see it and able to take pictures. Really, I just try to share it with as many people as I could. That day was absolutely insane. I probably had more steps that day than I've ever had in my life. It was super, super fun though. I don't think I've ever seen that many people in my city in one day just because we were just everywhere.
So after the, 2021 season, you spend a long time in Tampa and, you're headed to Chicago. For you leaving the Lightning, we've talked about your ups and downs with the organization over the course of essentially a decade. What was that transition like for you leaving an organization that you've only known to go to a different place that has a lot of history, but you've never been to a second organization?
Yeah, it was really tough. I mean, obviously Tampa was like the home for me. I grew up there, just when you're there for 10 years, you feel like that's home, right? So going to Chicago was very rough. Just trying to get accustomed to everything. But like you said, Chicago's a historic franchise. Playing in that arena is just, unbelievable. It's the fans are great. The city really gets behind the team. So that was a lot of fun to be able to experience something different. Obviously, miss Tampa, miss being around that, but it is what it is. I guess looking back, maybe it's nice to try to experience something else just to see what it's like. I was definitely spoiled in Tampa.
At 5'8", you've heard the size conversation your entire career. You've talked in the past about watching other smaller guys like Ray Whitney. What did you do differently from the other bigger players to survive in the NHL?
Um, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I guess for me, I was always small or smaller, I guess. I was never a tall guy. I always played, 2 or 3 years up. So my size was even shorter than, what it should have been, I guess. And I just kind of learned to play with bigger guys and never really saw anything different. And my dad was always a coach growing up, and he always told me that you better hit them before they hit you. So that was just kind of my mentality is like, I'm not waiting for you to hit me. I'm going for you first, just so you know. And maybe that helped me. I think that, really helped my competitiveness of knowing like, you know what, I need to do something a little bit more than everybody else in order to get seen. And that's kind of how it was my entire career and life is that it was hard for me to get seen from these teams. And it took a little bit longer than, what some other people might have. But at the same time, I was playing against these guys that were first rounders my entire life. And I knew that I could be a better hockey player than them. So I just continued to have my drive of saying, hey, I'm going to prove you wrong. And, it ended up working out.
So when you ended up retiring, you mentioned wanting to focus on starting a family, exploring some new paths. Seen you a couple times over at Benchmark International, but what are you doing now? What is like after hockey looked for like for you?
Well, I just had our first son, so
Oh,
that's awesome.
congratulations.
Uh, thank you. He's a month old today, so he's been keeping me busy. Not as much sleep, so that's been a little bit different. But no, it's been super fun to kind of relax, be able to hang out with my wife, and now having a baby, and we've just been having a lot of fun with everything and getting to golf a little bit more. We're currently living in Austin, Texas, which is complete change, new thing for us. We have no family, no ties to Austin, but we ended up moving here just because, and it's actually been super fun. So
Nice.
it's been great. And then coming back to the team, watching the games and stuff has been a lot of fun. Hopefully, I can do even more and more throughout the years to be able to help out and see everybody. And my wife's a Florida girl, so who knows?
That's awesome. What's the handicap at right now?
I'm at like a 6 right now, but
Okay.
I don't know how that'll be if with the baby. I haven't really played the last month and a bit, so
Well, I want to ask you this because you obviously an undrafted player, a smaller player, but you made your mark in the NHL. If a young undrafted kid came to you tomorrow to ask you how to make it into the NHL, what would you tell them, and would your answer be different than you would have said 10 years ago?
um I don't think my answer would be any different, but I think all I would say is that honestly, it's just work the hardest you can. Do everything you possibly can to try to get to that next step. If you're good enough to be seen, you will. It might not be the time that you think or when you expect, but things work out in mysterious ways. They always seem to happen if you work hard enough. And that was the biggest thing for me. I mean, I had to wait until my 20-year-old season, which to be quite frank, I almost didn't even play that 20-year-old season. So I just did it just to have fun. And I was like, hey, where the chips fall, they fall. And, it obviously went in the right way for me. And so, yeah, I think it would just be have fun, work hard, and, just see what happens.
And then as we focus on the team now, you've been back a couple times, as I mentioned, to the arena, to the city. You got a couple of friends that still play for the Lightning. What is your outlook on this Lightning team? Four straight first round exits for them, but they've got guys that are consistently among the NHL's best. What's your outlook for them?
Well, I mean, I think the Lightning can win any year, especially with the guys they have. I think, you mentioned four first round exits, but, look at the teams that they play in those four first rounds. Florida, they won back to back, and they're kind of just a wagon there. So those were tough ones. And then this year against Montreal, I think Montreal has an insanely bright future with the team that they have, the way that they're playing. Marty's just done a heck of a job as a coach there. So that series, it could have went either way, especially that game 7. I thought the Lightning pretty much dominated that, and just, some unlucky bounces. And that's just kind of how, the NHL playoffs are. You have to get those bounces, and you can't have them against you. That's just, how it is. So I think any year they can win. I think there's some things that they're going to want to improve on and work on. But they have the right guys, they have the right management, they have the right coach. So I think the future is very bright for the Lightning, and it continue to be so.
All right, Tyler, we're coming towards the end of the show here, but one thing we love to do with all of our guests, we call it the Bolt Reports Lightning Minute. So I got a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you just to kind of get to know you, some fun ones, some different things. I'm going to put a minute on the clock, and then we'll see how many questions you can get through. Are you ready?
Perfect.
All right, let's do it. Starting the clock right now. First question, hardest arena to play in?
I'm gonna say in Chicago during the finals, with how loud it was, that was hard.
Favorite arena to play in other than the home arena for the Lightning?
Bell Center.
Favorite activity to do outside of hockey?
Golf.
Favorite game you watched as a fan?
For hockey?
Any sport.
Oh, shoot. Um, I don't even know. When the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, how about that? Big Seahawks fan.
Love it. Who is the best player in the NHL today in your eyes?
Ooh, I think it's going to be Celebrini. He's right there right now.
Favorite player to watch growing up?
Mike Modano.
If you could be the GM of any team right now, what team would it be?
San Jose. Besides the Lightning, obviously.
Of course. And that
Yeah.
is a minute. All right. That's pretty good. I'm interested to hear Celebrini. Yeah, that young guy, he's unbelievable what he's been able to do, and he's a special player, no question about it.
Yeah, he plays a 200-foot game. He's skilled, competes. I mean, I think he's going to be basically the next Crosby in my eyes.
Are the Seahawks going back to back? Speaking of back to back champs.
I hope so. I mean, losing K9, that kind of hurts, but I think we'll be all right. I think we're going to be good.
So, Tyler, again, thank you so much. That'll do it for us here in this edition of Thunderstruck. Huge thanks to Tyler Johnson for coming on the show. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolt!